excuse me, Taiwan special episode of the week. No, I'll clear my throat. That's fine. No, I'm wearing my special shirt here in the video. This is the shirt that I wear to talk about the books. If you're watching the YouTube, if you're looking at the stream on Twitch, or if you're watching one of the archives from YouTube, DACA. You ready? You ready for this? See, I've now lived in Taiwan 10 years. Now, I don't have my passport, but I'm quite sure that I left on the 4th and I arrived on the 5th. I'm quite sure that I jumped forward a day when I got here. I believe it was February 5th that I arrived. It was February 4th that I left, and it was late at night. It was the next day or something. But anyhow, whatever. Okay. But actually, I was stuck in Hong Kong for a few hours. So that happened. Let's see, how was it? I think that I left at night, went through the night, arrived at Hong Kong sometime during the day, had to stay at Hong Kong for several hours, and then arrived in Taiwan at 11 p.m. February 5th. All right. So I'm no longer saying that, well, I mean, no, now literally it has been 10 years in Taiwan. It has been 10 years in Taiwan. It has not been easy. DACA is going to be on the docket for discussion. And having lived in Taiwan 10 years, I have something to say about this. No. I'm not going to say anything that Democrats are going to be scrambling for. Democrat voters might really like what I'm saying. We've got two things happening here. You see, people make this about justice. Like, let's be fair to the immigrants. Hold on, I've been sitting the way I've been sitting here for a while, and I've got to resituate myself in this chair and adjust my knee. I don't know if you do this or not, but no, the Asian thing's gotten to me, man. I squat on the toilets. I sit Indian style or whatever in the chairs. I'm all about floors and pillows. That's actually more Japanese than Chinese. Taiwan's a Chinese culture. Like English is a people group. It's a country, but it's also a language. So you say English, you could be talking about a part of Great Britain. You could also be talking about America because it's the English language. So Chinese is a culture like that. So when I say Chinese, it's no more China than saying English is Britain. Well, yes, of course, the British would always say that everything good and English has come from Britain, and that the United States would be nothing were it not for the brilliance of king and country, and having allowed those pilgrims to take their daring voyage across the northern Atlantic and arrive to start the new colonies in the New World, which eventually would come back to save Winston Churchill's rear end after he was trying to salvage a country that had been destroyed by the parliamentarian Chamberlain, an establishment type who didn't know how to create a single thing if his life depended on it. But after ruffling all the feathers, Winston came along in white knight, saved the country at the behest of the great king, all the more arguing the benefits of the constitutional monarchy which has served the British people for many centuries. And so thanks to the British, America does exist as it... I know that they'd say all that kind of stuff. All right, okay, so that was fun to go off on. Where was it? DACA, that's right, okay. DACA. I've lived in Taiwan 10 years now, officially, not almost. No more of this almost jazz. Pardon my musical French. No, I'm not much of a jazz fan. I like Dave Brubeck. I mean, I like a lot of the black jazz musicians, really. There was one guy I'd forgotten who he was. I was listening. I was like, this is really awesome music. Who is that guy? And I'm like, oh, he's one of the famous jazz guys. So I like jazz if it's got a real style to it. Back when it was all about piano in the Dave Brubeck era, and you know, B.B. King is blues, and I kind of like blues more because it's got a structure to it. But what cool jazz is sort of turned into it's like this nothingness. It's like, how can we be incapable of being defined? It's become the sophism, the deconstruction of all music. And I really don't like what jazz has become. And I'm not a fan of these narcissistic jazzicians who think that everything, even Mozart, was jazz. Grow up, man. If you can't isolate your style from everything else, then you're a narcissist, not a philosopher. All right. So, where was I? Oh, yeah, that's right. I've lived in Taiwan 10 years, and I have something to say about DACA. You know, I'm looking at the clock here, and I have a feeling I'm going to get into this. I have to get into this the next. I'll tell you what. I'm going to start on this DACA thing. DACA is not only about trying to just have no rules at all. Well, I mean, I think that's how Obama started it. It's like school administrators were afraid to ask students where they were from. That made international exchange students difficult. It really, really, really was an insult. There were Taiwanese here that wanted to study in America that I knew, and they had to go through so many hoops. But these kids that went to the country illegally can just do whatever they want? I mean, the massive insult to good people who do things a good way cannot be ignored at the same time. Well, you know what? If you really want to get into the details of this, I laid out a plan at the Pacific Daily Times, editorial this week. It was the encore. I mean, if it was there yesterday, go listen to it. But we can't just up and punish the children. We've got kids that have grown up not knowing their parents' native language, who may not have a passport for the country they should be citizens of. They've been done a great injustice. It's like they were pushed into being criminals. It's like someone put the gun in their hand and then forced them to pull the trigger and then said, oh, see, it's your fingerprints on it. And it's like one injustice was already done. Putting kids in prison for that would do a second injustice. But you can't let the murder go free. And so everyone's making this about to let the kids have whatever they want or whatever was forced on them, or else we're going to punish the kids for what someone else did. How about instead of let people run wild or punish the kids for something they didn't do? How about instead of those two choices, how about we punish the parents? And I mean, this is really simple. Very simple. More or less, parents need to self-deport. If they've been good people, we'll give them a little bit of time to pack their bags and get out. Give them time. Parents deport. No citizenship in the other country, only America. So the parents have to go back to their country and cannot be American citizens. And the kids could only be American citizens if they're going to do the DACA thing. If it's really that important, if the kids have been so separated from their home country, their parents, it was so worth it. America is such a wonderful country. Ours is terrible. Our country is horrible. I only care about my kids and what was best for them. They're not old enough to know. Okay, fine. The kids stay, mom and dad go back. And there's none of this dual citizenship stuff. Look, I'm in favor of dual citizenship stuff, but not when there's been foul play. And I've said 10 years because, come on, if the kids do it for 10 years, all right, but that's a long time. And that's the decision maker. I'm all for dual citizenship. I am all for dual citizenship. I've lived in Taiwan 10 years. Being a citizen in Taiwan would make my life infinitely easier as an American. One reason that I've not been in America is because being a non-citizen in another country forces you to kind of not be in your own country. But if you've got dual citizenship, it's better for you. It gives you more options in other places, so that you're allowed to exercise more of your preferred options at home. But if you're living in a country where your hands are tied, you're not a citizen. You can't do that. How dare you be normal? I'm not allowed to have a contract cell phone in Taiwan. Taiwan has all these laws cracking down on everything because China's threatening to invade. They're worried about Chinese spies is the reason they let foreigners have phones. So that you got China to blame for. Out of time. You know what? I'll get into this more tomorrow.